Yeah.
On Thursday,
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of town and we're going to start at 7:30. I'll just do it on Zoom.
On
And
Thursday, we're gonna do
Thursday,
the 30 and so. Okay. Shkoyach.
and then I'll be out of town also Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Lovely.
Also, also be 7:30. I'll do on Zoom. I may just pursue the 7:30 on Zoom until I do the 7:30 in person, but I may just switch the time.
Got it. Okay. 7:30. It'll be 6:30 for me. Yeah, I'll be in Houston that week. Okay. Beseder. Shkoyach.
Let's see what we're holding. Amar of Chisda and Yud Zion Amid Beis in the wide lines. It's like 6 lines down in the 7 lines down in the wide lines. 6 lines in the wide line. That's 17b. Amar of Chisda. Okay, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. It's because of our learning. We should have the base of Mikdash immediately. So it goes like this. Amar of Chisda. Rav Chisda says, "Minayin lebedika sakin min haTorah." How do you know that you have to check a knife? Right? How do you know they have to check the knife from a Torah source? Rashi says this is Shaul HaMelech telling the people that they're going to use this to shecht and they'll be able to eat. Mar says you need a raya. Pshita, kim l'chinak of treifa by bedika. Of course you have to check because if there's going to be a nick in the knife, then you're going to end up ripping the pipe, and it's going to be treifa. So, Gemara says l'chacham kamina. No, not that. We weren't asking that to check the knife. Of course, you have to check the knife. Shaila is, how do you know they have to take it to a rav to check? How do you know they have to go to a chacham to check the knife? So the Gemara says for that. That you don't have to do. That's just for the honor of the chacham. Gemara says, yeah. So the question is now. So why did we say v'shachatem b'zeh? Why do we have a pasuk for this? If this is just a rabbinic law that you have to show respect to the sage to show him the knife, it says midrabanan ukras machtabalma. You're right. It is only a rabbinic law. So we quoted a pasuk that was just a support for the rabbinic law, which happens sometimes, where we have rabbinic laws and we use a pasuk to support it, but not that the pasuk is a base for it. The Marava Batkalei B'Shimsha in Eretz Yisrael, they used the sun to check the knife. Now, either that means that they held the knife up to the sun and they would be able to see in the bright light if there was a nick in it, or they made a shadow. A shadow can enlarge like a magnifying glass. They're able to enlarge. If you make the shadow big, you can see if there's a nick in it. But Nardoi, Batkala B'Maya, Nardoi, they checked it in water. There's two pshatim over here also. Either they would like do a slice into the water and see if there were ripples, if it was even the ripples, or they would put a drop of water on the top of the knife and let it drip down. If it would get stuck somewhere, then that would show that there was a nick in the knife. Rav Sheshes Jesus would check it on the tip of his tongue. It sounds dangerous. Racha Bar Yaakov Badakla B'chut Asayra, because it means the tip of his tongue that he could the nerves were so sensitive on the tongue that he was able to tell if there was the slightest nick in it. More sensitive than the fingers, I guess. Racha Bar Yaakov checked it in the hair. B'chut Asayra. How did he check it with the hair? Feel if it would get caught on the hair, I guess. The Surah Amri, in Surah they said, Bisra Achla Bisra Livdika. It's going to consume the flesh, so we have to check it on the flesh. We're talking about checking the knife. that what are we going to use? What is the knife going to be used for? To cut the skin, to cut the flesh. So we have to check it on the flesh because that's what it's used for. You have to see if it's going to get caught on a nick, a notch. Amar Rav Papa tzricha b'dika b'srava tufra. Rav Papa says you have to check the knife on the flesh. That means probably like on the finger or something. And then you also have to check it on the nail. Tufra means a nail. Now, there's different gersois here in this Gemara now. If it's a klasa ruchta or it's a tray gisni, do you have to check the three sides or you have to check the two sides? There's three sides to the knife. When the sheikh them, they check it from the center. They take the nail up and down the center. Then they check the sides also. Apparently, there's like different parts to the blade. They check it on one side and then they check it on the other side. So it's 3 times where they go up and down. So, Amalei Ravina le Ravashi, Amalon Rav Saman Braid Rav Mesharshia Mishimcha, Damertla Mishmei de Rava. Ravina says to Ravashi that Rav Sama, the son of Mesharshia, said in your name that you said in the name of Rava. It's a very interesting Rashi here. Rashi says, Kol Hechadamar Mishmei de Pliny. Any time where it says in the name of someone, where the Gemara says, usually when the Gemara quotes a sage that says in the name of a sage, it says like Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, which we translate as Rav Yehuda says, that Rav says, which means Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. Sometimes it says Amar Rav Yechanan Mishmei de Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, or Mishum Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. It says in the name. It says clearly that he's saying in the name of him. No, so Rashi tells us whenever he says in the name, that means he didn't hear it directly. The reason why he's saying it here is because we have a Gemara that says that on the day that Rava passed away, Rav Ashi was born. So here it says that we heard in your name that you said in the name of Rava. How could he see Rava the day that Rava passed away? Rav Ashi was away. He couldn't have heard it from Rava. So he says Mishmei doesn't mean that he heard it from him. Mishmei means he heard it in his name. He heard it from other people that said it in his name. That's this Rashi here. It's funny that we have to wait till Chul and Daf Yud Zayin to hear that that's the pshat. We have this already in in Brachas, but it's interesting. So what does he say in the name of Rava? Shricha b'dika bisra v'atufra v'atlasa ruchasa. That you have to check the knife on flesh, on the nail. It means like on the finger. You check the knife on the finger, check it on the nail, and you also have to check on 3 sides. Amalei. So he says back, Abisra v'atufra amri. It's true. You're right. I said that. I said that you have to check it on the flesh and on the nail. But I never said you have to check the three sides of the knife, the center and the 2 sides. Now, ikad the amri. Some say Abisra tuva atlasa ruchasa amri, b'shmei de Rava amri. Some say that what Rav Ashi said was that I actually did say that you have to check on the flesh and on the nail and on the 3 sides of the knife, but I never said it in the name of Rava. That's the part that's not correct. Ravina v'Ravacha b'rei Rava haviyasvi kamei de Rav Ashi. Ravina and Ravacha b'rei Rava. Okay, they're sitting in front of Rav Ashi. Aisu sakin l'kamei de Rav Ashi l'badka. A knife comes in front of Rav Ashi to check it. Amalei l'Ravacha b'rei Rava bidka. He says to Ravacha b'rei Rava, you check it. Badka tufra v'abisra v'atlasa ruchasa. So he checked it on his nail, on his flesh, and on the 3 sides. That means that would be 6 times checking. Actually 12 because you go up and down. So 3 times on the flesh because you do both of the 3 sides of the knife. That's up and down. That's 6. And 3 times on the nail, up and down, which is 6. 12 times. Amalei Yasher said, but you're very good. Yasher means that's excellent. The way you checked it was great. Yefa Asisa, Rashi says. B'china Rav Kana. Rav Kana also says that. Rav Yemara ma'atufra b'sit shricha atlas ruchsa leitzricha. says that you have to check it on the nail, you have to check it on the flesh, but you don't have to check it on the three sides. It says that Reb Zera said in the name of Shmuel that if you heat up a knife, make it red hot, and then you use it to shecht. So did you shecht or did you burn a hole through the neck? So we said that the blade comes before the heat. We said that it was considered good shechita. What about the sides? The blade, the sharp part comes before. So what about the sides? It's going to burn the neck when you're cutting. It says no, the neck's the tension pulls it wide open, so that doesn't happen. If that's the case. So what are you worried about? The two sides of the knife that maybe they have to also be sharp. The very, very tip, the front edge of the knife is what's cutting it. As we're seeing that the sides are, because of the tension, the sides of the neck are just getting pulled open. It's not even touching that. The kashlan ekatzadim, what about the sides? It's going to burn through, it's going to burn the neck. We say that the base of shchita, that area, immediately the tension pulls it apart. So you don't have to worry about the other parts of the knife if they're going to have a nick on it, because just the very, very tip, very, very edge of the knife is going to do the cutting. Rav Huna bar Rav Katina, Rav Shimon ben Lakish, Rav Huna bar Rav Katina. Okay, this is Rav Huna from Eretz Yisrael. He says in the name of Rav Shimon ben Lakish, Shalish begimasein. There's three types of nicks, notches. Begimas etzim bepesach. There's making a notch in a bone on Pesach. Even if you don't break it all the way through, you just start to scratch it. That's going to be a problem. There's begimas etzim bebechar. If the ear on a bechor has a pagam, has like a little notch in the ear, it's already eligible to be eaten, not as a karban. Begimas mum bekachim. There's a mum in a karban. Rashi says that it's dealing with the womb, the pagam of the karban, a female animal. There's some sort of pagam on the womb, on the opening of the womb. Now, this Rashi adds in, he says, 1 second, we're dealing with two types of karbanos here. He said the ear on the bechar, and he said a pagam on kachim. The bechar is a karban. Rashi says that, yeah, if we just put everything under the same category, and just say pagam by a karban, then I wouldn't know that you're allowed to eat it down in the Beis Hamikdash. I would have thought you still had to wait. It's going to tell me that no, you could already eat it outside the Beis Hamikdash. See, the interesting halacha by the Bechar is that it's a karban. The firstborn animal is a karban. A kosher animal that's born is a karban. However, if it gets a mum, then the kain can eat it without bringing it to the Beis Hamikdash. You give it to the kain, of course, but does the kain have to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash, or could he shecht it at home and just eat it at home? So as soon as it gets a mum, you can shecht it at home. There's not allowed to give it a mum on purpose. But as soon as there's a mum, you can shecht it at home. So what we're saying is that even though the mum is so small, you can still shecht it at home. So we had to make it into another category. It's not just a mum that you can't bring it in the Beis Hamikdash, but you can even go ahead and shecht it. It takes it out of the category of a karban. Because look at all these things we said. We said there's a pagam on a bone. There's on the ear of the firstborn animal. There's a pagam on of a mum and kachim. Rav Chizda adds in, there's also the knife of the shechita knife. The idach, why? How come the first opinion didn't say this? It says bechulin lekamayri. They were just talking about kachim. They weren't talking about chulin. Bekulan pegimasan pegimas mevech. How big of a notch in the knife or on the ear or these things? How big of a notch is going to be considered a notch? How big is going to be a pagam? So it's the size, it's the amount that the mizbeach would become puzzle. It says, we're on Yudches. What's the size that a Mizbeach would become puzzle? They should talk about it. It's pointing that it would catch the nail when you're rubbing the nail along the corner, along the edge. Catch the nail. Meisvei, the Gemara says, really, is that how it works? I have a contradiction. Come begin Mizbeach, Rav Shimon ben Yochai, Amr Tefach. Rav Menachem Kazayas. Rav Machlekes Tanaim. Shimon ben Yochai and Rav Elazar ben Yaakov says that the Begam in the Mizbeach is the size of a Tefach. Size of a baseball, maybe. And the other one says the size of an olive. But no one's saying the amount to catch a fingernail. Just like kasha, you're mixing two things together. It's not a problem. One where we said it's the size of a tefach. That's talking about if the plaster on the mizbeach has a notch in it, so that notch it would only be invalid. Invalidate the plaster, it needs to be bigger. But the stone underneath the plaster, that has to be perfectly smooth, and as we said, abonim shleimes, that you had to get perfect stones. They would take it from the water. The stones are very smooth. They would cut it with the shamir. Basically, it was like a perfectly smooth edge. Okay. Amar Avuna, Hai Tapchud Leisar Sakina Kamichachim. The word sar means to show. Leisayir Aram Yorta. It's to look at the land from the night before. Sar means to show. So if the butcher doesn't show his knife to the chacham, mishamtinan like, we put him into chayrim. Rav Amar, who is this opinion? This was Rav Huna. Rav Amar, Rav says, Mavrinan like. Good morning. Rav says he loses his job. We take him off from his job. We don't let him shecht anymore. Machrazinan abisra the treifi, and we make an announcement that his meat is treif. It's going to be tough to make a living, so he has to make sure that he gives his knife to the chacham. Pligi, and there's actually no machlekes between Rav Huna and Rava about what we do. Even though Rav Huna said that we put him in chayrim, and Rava says that we just announce that his market is treif, his shchit is treif. After he doesn't show the knife, so then we go check his knife by force, and we check: does he know how to shech? Is his knife good or not? If his knife is good, then we just say, okay, you're in chayrim, you're held in contempt. If his knife isn't good, then that's a different story. Then he loses his job. Ravina says that if his knife isn't good, we take the feces from the animal, we rub it into the meat, so that no one should ever buy it if we don't even want it to be sold to a non-Jew. Rashi adds in, according to Ravina, if we find that the knife is good, we still announce that it's a treifa. That's a knas. It's a fine. We put on a penalty, rather. And but we can still sell it to a guy. But if you find the knife is not good, then you can't even sell it to a guy. Who tapcha? I don't know why Rashi has to say that. Maybe just leave it out. Maybe just leave it. That if his knife is good, we just put him in chayrim. If his knife is not good, then we announce that it's treifa. And we, why does Rashi have to say that if his knife is good, he does that? An extra thing. Okay. So, you think they have a comment on this? I don't have any extra comments in these Gemaras. I don't have any. Let me see if they say why Rashi has to do that. Number 5. All he says is that Ravina thus interprets the Rava differently than the Gemara did above. In Ravina's view, Rava meant that the slaughter is removed from his job, prevented from selling to Jews, even when the knife is found to be okay. Then not explaining why why that has to be. They're saying that Ravina is arguing on Rava. Not saying why you have to say that. Maybe you can just say that he's saying the same thing. He's just adding one point. Anyway, Hu Tabcha was a butcher. The Rava Barchinina. He doesn't want to show his knife to Rava Barchinina. He just shechs on his own without showing his knife. So Shamte, he put him in Cherim, Ba'avri. He took his job away. Va'achriz abisra the trefe. And they announced about the meat that it's treif. Anyway, Marzucha and Ravashi end up coming to that area. Amalahu, he says, La'aine Rabba Rabbanan b'milse. Let the Rabbanan look into the matter. The Talibei Tafli, because this man has children, won't be good. Doesn't have a job. See what you can do. I mean, but basically, Rava Barchin is saying, I did what I was supposed to do, but see if you can find a heter for him. But Ravashi l'sakini. Ravashi checks his knife and him says, Yafa, b'achsherei. Finds the knife is kosher. And he puts him back and states him back. Amalei Marzucha v'lei lechish mar l'saba. You worried about the elder? The elder took away his job, which is Rafa Bachinna. Amalei shlichusei kavdinan. He told us to look for a solution. We're doing what he said. So he was following Rava's view, not like Ravina, that holds that if the knife was a good knife, that he doesn't lose his job. Amar Rabba Bar Huna, maybe it's Bar Rav Huna. Shein Telusha, Tzipayrin Telusha, Mutalishchuk Belachatchila. If there's a tooth that's sharp, you want to use it for shechting, so that's acceptable. Or a nail that's sharp.
Human tooth.
Fingernail, yeah. Crocodile. So, or a nail, you can use it for shechting. Anan tanan chutz mimagal kotzer v'amegera v'ashinayim v'tziporim b'nei shem chankin. He said not to use them because they cause the animal to choke instead of cutting. It says sheina shein lekasha, and there's a contradiction regarding teeth. So that's not a problem. I'm sorry, not bechadata. Habachada habatarti. Depends. If you have one tooth, you have two teeth. If it's one tooth, then that's fine. But you have two teeth, and there's going to be a nick in between, a notch in between, and that's going to cause a problem with the shechita. So one tooth is fine, two is not. Then it says, if that's the case, we can go further. When it comes to the nail, there's also two ways of looking at it. One is when it's attached to the person or to the animal, and you're just taking the whole animal and you're moving the hand of the animal to shech with the animal's nail. Or you took off the nail and you made it into a knife. You know, like a razor blade. You take the razor and you put it into this holder. It becomes like a knife. So here they would take the nail, probably put it into a holder. They would use the nail to. So that was acceptable. Okay. Hashechet b'magal kotzer b'derech halichasa. Magal kotzer was a type of saw, serrated edge, but the points only went in one direction. Sickle, yeah. So if you went in the right direction, where it doesn't catch it, it's just cutting. This, the bottom one. See the bottom, where if you go one way, it's going to catch it. If you go the other way, it's just going to cut smooth.
You should go
So if you went in the right direction, Bishamai says it's puzzle anyway. And Basil Machshir and Basil says that it's kosher. And if you smooth down those teeth that are in the knife, the serrated part, then it becomes a regular knife, even though it may not be it may not be perfectly flat. It's wavy, possibly, but it's once it doesn't catch anything, then it's like a regular knife. Even though Basil says that it's kosher, but Basil didn't really mean it's kosher. They only meant that it's not a nevela. Now, nevela means that if you kill an animal without shchita, then the animal gives off an impurity, right? So Basil says that it's kosher when you use this type of knife. So comes along Rav Chia Barabba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Says Basil didn't say that it's kosher to eat. They meant that it's kosher, that it doesn't give off an impurity. That type of kosher. Aval ba'achila asura. For eating it, it's still prohibited because you used the wrong knife. And Amar Ravashi says, Dekanami, I'll prove it to you. Diktani b'shami paisim b'sil machshirin. Like Tani b'shami aisim b'sil matir. If you wanted to tell me you could eat it, then you would say b'shami prohibits and b'sil allows. If you want to tell me that it's has to do with impurity, then we would say if it's pasal or kosher, as opposed to usr or mutter. Umar asks, well, if you're talking about impurity, then why don't you just say the truth? Just say that Bishami says metamen, that Bishami says that it's tamei, Bisol says that it's tar. Rather rejecting Reb Chia Barab in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, we're saying that it's really all one thing. That whether it says pasal, kasher, or aser, or mutter, saying this, it's the same thing, and you're allowed to eat it according to Bishalal. Okay. Now the Mishnah starts off with the structure of the neck of the animal. So on the neck, there's the how do you pronounce the cricoid cartilage? There's the rings of the windpipe, the trachea. There's rings on it, and sorry, it goes like this. If someone shechs from within this cartilage, which is, we're going to say that this means the very top of the neck, the animal. There's a large ring there. Let's see if I can show this to you. See there, they have an arrow here pointing to the, sort of like a cap. It's like a cap on the windpipe. So it's a cap, but it's a hood. That's really what it is. It's a hood. Yeah?
Helmet.
It's like a helmet. That's what they call it? A helmet?
That's a cap. What is it in Hebrew?
Over here, it's just a tabas.
Tabas. Helmet.
They're calling it a helmet. Okay. Now he doesn't cut from out of the helmet. He does a very thin slice in this top ring of this cartilage, and he leaves off a perfectly thin layer of the ring that is not cut, that's intact. So he cuts straight through it within the ring. He doesn't exit the ring. When it's cutting, it cuts through the ring, like he sliced in a piece of watermelon. So he had like that little thing at the edge, that he didn't leave the ring. It was just within it. So it says shchitasik sheira. It's going to be kosher. Rabbi Bar Yehuda, he says even if he left the ring, it's still going to be kosher, as long as he did the majority from within the ring. If you go above the ring, then you're out. It's not going to be valid. So, but he says as long as he did the majority, according to him, it's going to be kosher. Rav Shmuel Damar Tabayo Alach Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rav and Shmuel both say that the Lachzek Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda was more lenient. However, Vafar Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda lo yomer ela b'tavasa gedola el makefes kol hakanav b'shar tabayis lai. So now, what happens now is that if he did the shechita on the very top part of the animal, on the top of the neck, which goes through the top helmet. So that ring is actually a full circle. There's these rings there. That's a full circle. The other rings that are on the trachea go most of the way around, but on the bottom there's actually flesh. So it's like a semicircle. The ring is a semicircle. Doesn't go all the way. This is what you would make a ring for a finger, but you don't know the size, so you leave it open on one end, so you can stretch a little bit. That's how it is. It's like you can stretch a little bit. It's not a perfect ring. The bottom is it's just skin. I'll show you. See over there. So there's one ring that goes all the way around, the bigger one, and then the smaller one. If you look carefully on the bottom, you don't have the. Doesn't go all the way around. It's like a skin on the bottom. Okay, so it says, but if you, that's only if you shech the majority that it's going to be kosher. That's in the tabasa gedola. That's a good shechita. But if you shech in the other rings that don't go all the way around, then that's not going to be a good shechita. You have to shech between the ring, according to them. It says b'shar tabayis loy. Is really all the other rings on the neck. So all these other cartilage rings on the neck, you can't shech through. But Tanya Rabbi Yisrael says, "Hashechet b'shar tabayis, shecht in any of the other rings, even though the rings don't actually encircle the entire windpipe, trachea. But because they go around the majority, it's going to be kosher." We'll have to go back to answer that question, but first we end up saying something, a side point. We say megremis psula. Megremis means that when you're shechting, you end up going outside of the area that's allowed for shechita. So in other words, you're shechting through the top of the neck, the top of that helmet, but you end up going too far. Okay. Heyed Reb Chanina ben Antignas al megremis shikshera. Chanina ben Antignas testified that in such a case, it's going to be kosher as well. Take a look back at what Rav and Shmuel said. The halacha is like Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda, but even Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda only said this regarding the top ring, but regarding the other rings, it's not going to be kosher. That you don't. That Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda held that you only have to shech majority, right? You don't have to go through the whole ring, and then we said that how could Rabbi Yisrael say that the other rings are not kosher? We have clearly Rabbi Yisrael saying the other rings are kosher. So Amar Rabbi Yosef says Rabbi Yisrael the Tartikam. Rabbi Yisrael actually has two opinions. Rabbi Shmuel Sabri Kavasei Bechada Apalagal Bechada. Rav and Shmuel, they paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, but that's only by one of his opinions. By the other opinion, they actually argue with him. They hold that you can't cut within the other rings. Well, lo yamar ka'amri. They didn't say what we hold like. They said that he didn't say. You have to adjust those words, little white out and rewriting it, and it's not that Rabbi Yehuda says. He meant to say is that the halacha is like him if you shecht in the big ring, even though you didn't finish the whole, just the majority. However, you can't shecht within the other rings. You have to shecht between the other rings. Kisalak Rab Zera. When Reb Zera went to Eretz Yisrael, Achal Mugremes de Rav Shmuel, he ate meat from an animal that the knife left the place of the shechita, according to Rav and Shmuel, who held that it was kosher. Slaughter during which it was not valid. Reb Zera, though, ate the meat of an animal that was slaughtered above the large ring in accordance with the opinion of Maseches Chullin, the rule in accordance with the opinion of Nirman Tignis. Oh, so it's much more than that. Magremes. This was a case of Magremes where Rabbi Chanina ben Tignis allows. So we're talking about where it wasn't the majority. The majority of that top ring wasn't shechted, and Reb Zera ate it, as opposed to the way they would paskin in Bavel by Rav and Shmuel. Ate the way they paskin in Eretz Yisrael. Amri lei lav me'asad Rav Shmuel. How can you eat this? You come from Bavel, and that's the rule in Bavel. Amalhu man amra. Who said this? Yesi Barchia. Yesi Barchia mikol al megamer. Who was saying the rule of? Who was saying Rav and Shmuel? It was Yesi Barchia, which is Rabbi Yosef, right? Rabbi Yosef said it in the name of Rav and Shmuel. No, Rav and Shmuel Damitavaya. We started with. It was Rabbi Yosef explained Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda saying two things, and Rav and Shmuel held of one thing and not the other thing. So he says it was Rabbi Yosef that said this, and Rabbi Yosef Bar Chia learns from everyone, which means that he didn't hear it directly from Rav and Shmuel. He learned it from other people, and maybe he made a mistake. Shamar Rabbi Yosef Yichbid. Rabbi Yosef hears about this comment of Reb Zera, and he gets upset. Amar, he says, "Anamikuli alma gamerna." I learned it from just anyone. You think I didn't get what Rav and Shmuel said clearly? Anam Rabbi Yehuda gamerna. I learned it from Rabbi Yehuda. Dafilu sveika the gavri garis. That Rabbi Yehuda would even say the people's questions. She was very accurate. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, Safakim Shmei the Rav, Safakim Shmei the Shmuel. When Rabbi Yehuda would say things over, he would even say, if it's a doubt, if he heard it from Rav or he heard it from Shmuel, he clarified everything. That we're not sure if we heard it from him or we heard it from him. Safakim Shmei the Shmuel, Shleisha Matir Nasa B'char B'machim Shein Mumcha. This was the case where he would say it over, and he would say that I'm not sure what the source is, which meant that he was very accurate in the way he gave things over. It says that if you don't have an expert in checking the blemishes of the Bechar, you can use three other people instead of the one expert. The Gemara says for Reb Zera, we have a Gemara in Pesachim that says that there's different customs about doing malacha on Erev Pesach. So the Gemara over there says that if you come from a place where malacha is not allowed, to a place where the malacha is allowed, doing work on Erev Pesach, we give you the stringency of the place where you came from. And then we say also the opposite. Say if you came from a place where malacha is allowed, you come to a place where malacha is not allowed, then we impose on you the stringencies of the place where you just came to. So Reb Zera, even though he came to Eretz Yisrael, but they're more lenient about Hagrama if it leaves the area, the knife leaves the area that's allowed. But he comes from a place of Rav and Shmuel where we has to keep his old stringencies. Amar Abaya says, Hani mili mi bavel Eretz Yisrael. When do we say that we put on you the stringencies of both places? That's if you're staying in Bavel and you're going to another city in Bavel that has a different custom. That's maybe a little more lenient, the new place. Eretz Yisrael, or you're staying in Eretz Yisrael and you're going from one place to another that's more lenient. Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, or maybe you're going from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and Bavel is more lenient to make you keep the laws of Eretz Yisrael as well. Bavel Eretz Yisrael. When you're going from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael, it's going to be more lenient. We don't give the stringencies of Bavel, given the Anan Kaifin Lo Avdin Kavasayo, because we're subordinate to the Eretz Yisrael and halacha, so we follow the Eretz Yisrael custom. Ravashi says, even if you say that you go from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, you still have to keep the old Bavel customs. That's only if you plan on returning. However, Reb Zera ain't daitei lachzar. Reb Zera was never planning on going back to Bavel. So therefore, you didn't have to keep the halachas, stringencies of Bavel. I'm gonna lay a biler of Yosef. Let's see if there's a place to stop over here. Let's try. I'm gonna lay a biler of Yosef. Abayas says to Rabbi Yosef. Abayas is a student of Rabbi Yosef. Rabbanan dasim mechuza amri, but the Rabbanan that came from Mechuza, they would say that Amar Reb Zera Shmei Rav Nachman Megremes Ksheira. That Megremes is kosher in the name of Rav Nachman. Now, we were saying before that was only something that he said in Eretz Yisrael. Amalei, so he responds back, or basically responds back, Nara Pashte. Each place has its own custom. And in Mechuzah, the custom was different than Rav and Shmuel. Now, Nara Pashte, they translate over here that every river in its unique course. Rabbeinu Gershom Argel explains that the word Upashte means bridge. That just as each river has its own bridge, so to every place has its own opinion. Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Achsher Bechuda de Koiva. Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Rish Lakish, he said that if they shechted through the windpipe, when it cuts the windpipe, because the Chuda de Koiva means the tip of the cartilage, which is the arytenoid the tip of the thyroid cartilage. Rabbi Yochanan says, Gisa. I thought Gisa meant my brother-in-law. Here the translation, he says he exaggerated how far you can go with the shita. And Amar of Papi Shmeidurava Paga Bechiti Trefa. Okay, let's leave it by Amar of Papi. Let's leave it right there.
Stop playing words.
Oh yeah. That's it. So Gisa. Okay, thank you. Gisa means the side. It means you took it too far. You're going off the edge. Gisa, my brother-in-law Gisa, you're going off the edge. Okay, we'll stop by Amar.
Thank you. So tomorrow's normal?
Tomorrow is Wednesday is regular 5:30, and then on Thursday we'll do 7:30 Erev Yom Tov. And then we'll
But
keep it at
But
7:30
that's going to be by Zoom.
tomorrow. Yeah, when it's 7:30 will be by Zoom for a while.
Got it.
And you
Okay.
Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, have a good day.
Earlier. Okay.